But it's necessary because the nature of, we only have one data lake. I'll say that. It's hard to explain this whole situation. You'd have to understand our entire app architecture, all of the services involved. There's just a lot. 10 years of a dozen engineers building stuff. So there's just a lot of stuff, okay? But we only have one data lake. We don't have like a staging data lake. It would be like stupid because it would be half empty. We only have a production data lake because we only have production users. People don't use our staging app, right? So we have a ton of data in this giant S3 data lake in production. And our trending, so we have these features, this feature where we show like what players are trending, what teams are trending, all that stuff. That's driven off the data lake, okay? Because the data lake is like where we know how many queries are done, and we have all the logs from CloudFront, our CDN, so we know how many like visits each query has, and like they're basically just pages. Anyway, the trending stuff is driven off the data lake, and we don't have a staging data lake, so it makes this very complicated to test the trending changes. Like I just fixed 2 things in trending. It's very hard to test that because we don't want to just roll it straight into production. But we also don't have a staging data lake. So anyway, the solution that I came up with is, what if we just said, screw it all. We're a startup. There's no rules. What if we just hit our production database from staging? What if we just did that? Just for this one thing. Is this a terrible idea? Someone stop me, please. Anybody? Welcome to chat. Smoked Link. Y'all need a simulated data store. What is that? That sounds fun. I believe you. I just don't know what it is. Astros plus Svelte is such a base combo, though, especially for performance. Yeah, it made sense at the time. When I made the decision, I wasn't aware of Svelte syntax. Not loving it. It's hard for me and my JSX pilled brain to adapt. It's not Svelte's fault. I say this a lot. It's not. I feel like it's a fine framework. But if you spent so much of your career writing JSX, it's so hard to make that switch. You know what I mean? Just, it's not familiar. The Ravenous, thank you for that follow. I think I remember you saying you're not a huge Svelte fan. Yeah, okay, yeah, you know, you heard it. Raven, I feel special that you remembered. Raven, that's right. I call you Raven. I do that as well, but I have one user. There you go. I mean, one user needs a data lake too. Better be sure about that read-only. Yeah, exactly. Straight to prod. We could do that. It's also an option. Delete prod, that would be bad. Just one time, that sounds familiar. 5 years later while you're still doing it. I'm a fan of using production master data. Transactional data is trickier. If it's read-only, it's fine. Yeah, it's just read-only. I'm going to make sure, right? We'll just make sure. Can't you just make some sort of service / data store / repo that retrieves data from data lake and have an interface to mock it in tests? Maybe. That sounds like a lot more work. Mogul Buster, thank you so much for that follow. RIP React, Svelte is the future. Betting on Solid, I do enjoy Solid. So obviously, being friends with Dax, I can't ignore Solid. I've had to use it because Dax uses it. And any project I work on with Dax is going to be Solid. And I've enjoyed it. Solid is great. I actually like that I don't have to do the mental gymnastics that I have to do with React. And you still get the JSX. It's nice. I like Solid. Can't you make a read-only instance in your DB? We do have a read-only instance. That's what I'm going to hit. We already have one that serves our production read loads. Most pages don't need to write to the database, so we have a read-only instance in our cluster, and that's what I'm going to target. So we're going to figure out, how do I hit it? The tricky thing is, like, on the AWS side, there is like complicated network infrastructure designed to prevent any resources from hitting our production resources if they're not production resources, right? Like at the network level, if you will, we have security groups, we have routing rules, we have a separate VPC even, I think. There's like reasons to segregate your production stuff from your staging and dev stuff, right? Normally it'd be in separate accounts, but StatMuse still on one AWS account. Fun fact. So that at least makes it easier. If it were a separate account, that's just another hurdle. How does that read-only instance work out for you? I'm thinking about doing the same for my app. Actual users, lots of data. Does it lower resource user usage overall? It just